before the world learned how to measure time, there were places that chose not to. Tonight, you are stepping into one of those places, not through a doorway, not through memory, but through stillness. Take a slow breath and allow the outside world to soften. Nothing here is demanding your attention. Nothing needs to be understood quickly. This story was never meant to be rushed. The land appears first. It always does. A wide, gentle landscape unfolds before you, rolling hills layered in deep green, their edges blurred by mist that moves without wind. The ground beneath your feet feels old, not worn out, but settled, as if it has already seen everything it needed to see. The air is cool, but kind. It carries the faint scent of wet stone and distant water. Somewhere nearby, a river moves slowly, its surface unbroken, its sound barely above silence. In the Celtic world, the land was not scenery. It was presence. People did not believe they lived on the land. They believed they lived within it. And as you walk forward slowly, you begin to sense why. There are no sharp edges here, no sudden movements, no urgency. Even time itself seems hesitant, as if unsure whether it should continue moving forward or simply rest. Pause. Long before names like Ireland, Scotland, or Wales existed, this land was already awake. Stones stood upright in quiet circles, not built to impress, but to remember. Trees grew tall and wide, their roots deep enough to touch stories buried beneath the soil. Forests were not places people entered casually. They were places one approached respectfully. Because in this world, forests listened. The Celts believed the boundary between worlds was thin, not broken, not dangerous, just thin. And certain places, a bend in a river, a hollow beneath an oak, a hill that caught the fog just right, were closer to something else. Not heaven, not hell, another layer. As you move deeper into the land, that feeling grows, not excitement, recognition, as if your body remembers something your mind never learned. Night approaches gently here. There is no sudden darkness. The sky slowly dims, colors draining into softer shades of blue and gray. Stars do not rush into view. They appear one by one, patient, deliberate. Firelight begins to glow in the distance. A small village rests ahead, round houses with low roofs, their shapes blending into the earth itself. Smoke rises lazily from hearth fires, curling upward, then dissolving into the night. Inside these homes, people speak quietly, not because they are afraid of the dark, but because the dark is listening. Children are guided towards sleep early. Elders sit closer to the fire, their faces marked by years, their eyes calm with knowing. Stories here are not told loudly. They are released slowly, allowed to drift, so they can find their own place in the listener. And tonight, you are one of those listeners. At the edge of the village, beyond the last fire, the land opens again. This is where the Celts believed something important happened. This is where arrivals occurred. Not ships crashing into shores, not armies marching, but presences emerging. They spoke later of a time when beings came to this land. through mist and cloud. They were not born here, yet they belonged immediately. They would come to be known as the Tuatha Dé Danann, but at first they were simply there, wise, quiet, unhurried. They brought knowledge rather than weapons, skills rather than commands. The land did not resist them. It recognized them, and something about that recognition still lingers, even now. Pause. As you stand in the cool night air, you may notice how your breathing has slowed. That is not an accident. Celtic stories were never meant to keep people awake. They were meant to prepare them for rest, for dreams, for the gentle understanding that the world continues even when you are asleep. Somewhere beyond the hills, water moves through stone. Somewhere beneath your feet, roots weave their silent networks. And somewhere, just beyond sight, another world waits, not to pull you away, but to remain close, very close, close enough that as sleep begins to find you, the story does not end. It simply moves elsewhere, and in the next part of this journey, you will begin to notice how the Celts understood arrival, not as an event, but as a slow unfolding. The land does not change quickly. That is the first thing you begin to understand as you remain here, standing quietly between firelight and darkness. In the Celtic world, movement is subtle. Nothing announces itself. The hills remain still. The trees do not sway unless they choose to. Even the mist seems to pause, as if waiting for permission to move. And slowly, without warning, you realize that you are not alone. Not because you see anyone, but because the air itself feels attentive. Pause. Long before stories were written down, before names were fixed, before myths became structured, the Celts believed in presence. Not gods standing above the world, but beings woven into it. The river was not ruled by something. It was something. The forest did not belong to spirits. It held them. And the night was never empty. As you begin to walk beyond the village, your steps are slow, almost instinctively. The ground feels softer here. Grass damp with evening moisture presses gently beneath your feet. Ahead, the land dips into a shallow valley. Fog gathers there, thicker than before, resting low, as if it has always lived in this place. This is where the Celts believed the world thinned, not vanished, thinned. A place where one step could carry meaning, and the next step could carry memory. Pause. You may notice something curious. Your thoughts, the loud ones, no longer insist on being heard. They drift instead, loosening their grip. This is how Celtic stories worked. They did not demand focus. They invited surrender, and as you stand at the edge of the valley, you feel that invitation clearly. Somewhere within the mist, there is movement, not sudden, not alarming, more like arrival. The Celts spoke of a time when beings came to this land, not by ship, not by road, but by cloud. They said the sky itself lowered them gently onto the earth. These were not conquerors. They did not tear the land open or claim it loudly. They listened first. They learned the rhythm of the hills. They understood the language of water. They waited. Only later would people give them a name, the Tuatha Dé Danann. But names come last in this world. First comes knowing. As you breathe slowly, the mist begins to part, just enough. You do not see faces. You do not see bodies clearly. What you sense instead is skill, knowledge carried without books, craft without instruction. The Tuatha were remembered, not for what they destroyed, but for what they understood. They knew how to shape metal without forcing it. They knew how to heal without disturbing rest. They knew when to speak and when silence was stronger. And most importantly, they knew how to remain unseen unless they wished otherwise. Pause. The Celts believed that these beings did not leave when other people arrived. They did not disappear. They withdrew into hills, into lakes, into ancient mounds of earth, places that looked ordinary to the unobservant. But you can feel it now, somewhere nearby. The ground rises gently, a smooth hill, its surface unbroken. This is not just land. This is a doorway, not one that opens outward, but inward, the otherworld, not above the sky, not below the earth, beside, always beside. The otherworld was not a place of fear. It was a place of timing. Time moved differently there. Moments stretched. Years folded into hours. The Celts believed that someone could step into it, stay what felt like a single evening, and return to find generations past. But tonight, there is no need to cross. Just knowing it exists is enough. Just resting near the boundary is enough. As you sit quietly near the hill, your body grows heavier. Not tired in an uncomfortable way, comfortably heavy, grounded, supported. This land does not expect anything from you. It does not require belief. It does not demand attention. It simply allows you to be here. Pause. Firelight flickers again in the distance. The village prepares for sleep. Doors are closed gently, not locked, just rested into place. Inside, families settle onto woven beds, wool blankets pulled close, breathing slows. Stories have already been told tonight, not exciting ones, familiar ones, the kind that reassure the mind that the world remains in order, even when eyes are closed. Elders murmur final words near the fire, not instructions, reminders that the land is awake, that ancestors are near, that morning will arrive when it is ready. Outside, the night deepens. Stars hold steady above, and you begin to sense something else. The Celts always knew. Sleep was not an ending. It was a crossing, not into darkness, but into another kind of awareness. As your breathing slows further, the mist thickens once more, settling gently across the valley. The hill becomes harder to see. The firelight dims, but nothing feels lost. Everything feels held. And somewhere within this quiet world, the Tuatha Dé Danann remain, watching without watching, present without interrupting. In the next part of this journey, you will begin to notice how the Celts lived alongside these presences, not in worship, but in balance. The night settles fully now, not suddenly, not heavily, but like a blanket placed with care. You are still near the valley, where mist rests low against the earth, and the hill, smooth and quiet, waits without expectation. Nothing here is rushing you. Nothing nothing is watching to see what you will do next. This is one of the first lessons the Celtic world offers you. Stillness is not empty, it is prepared. As you remain there, you begin to notice sounds that were always present but never demanded attention. Water moving slowly over stone, grass shifting as night air passes through it, a distant owl not calling out but marking its place in the dark. The Celts believed that listening was a form of respect, to hear without interrupting, to observe without naming. And as you listen now, your thoughts begin to soften again, loosening their edges. Long before temples were raised, before walls defined sacred space, the Celts marked holiness differently. They did not build upward. They noticed inward, a certain tree that no one cut, a spring that never ran dry, a stone that felt warmer than it should. These were not coincidences. They were invitations. Ahead of you, just beyond the valley floor, stands an ancient oak. Its trunk is wide, its bark thick with age, its branches spreading outward as if embracing the dark sky. This tree has stood longer than memory can trace. Generations have passed beneath it. Voices have risen and faded. Footsteps have worn paths around it, never through it. You feel it immediately. This tree is not symbolic. It is present. The Celts believed trees were not passive. They watched time pass without needing to move. Roots carried knowledge downward. Branches carried awareness upward. The oak was not worshipped. It was consulted. And as you stand nearby, you feel no urge to touch it. Being close is enough. Somewhere deeper in the land, fire still burns low in hearths. Villages sleep now. Breathing synchronizes. Dreams begin. But outside those homes, the world remains active in its own quiet way. This was never frightening to the Celts. Night was not something to survive. It was something to share space with. As you lower yourself gently onto the cool grass near the tree, the ground receives you without resistance. Your body knows how to rest here. It remembers something older than effort. In this world, stories were not entertainment. They were alignment, told to remind people where they stood in relation to land, to ancestors, to what could not be seen. Tonight's story is doing the same, not pulling you forward, but settling you deeper into where you already are. The Celts spoke often of thresholds, not barriers, thresholds, moments where one thing became another without conflict. Dusk into night, sleep into waking, life into memory. The oak beside you is one such threshold. So is the hill nearby. So are you, right now. As your breathing slows further, the sense of the otherworld returns gently, not as curiosity, as familiarity. It does not feel distant. It feels adjacent, as if, should you close your eyes completely, the space around you might rearrange itself without sound. The Celts believed the otherworld was always present, but rarely intrusive. It did not demand belief. It rewarded attentiveness. And those who lived well were those who understood when not to cross. Tonight, there is no crossing, only closeness. You may notice now how heavy your limbs feel, not tired, settled, supported by earth. that has carried countless others through this same quiet moment. The oak does not move, the hill does not change, and somewhere within the land, the Tuatha Dé Danann remain withdrawn, not absent, simply resting in their own layer of time. This is how the Celts lived, alongside mystery, not solving it, not chasing it, allowing it. In the next part of this journey, you will begin to drift closer to the human side of this world again, to fires, to routines, to the calm rhythm of daily life, woven carefully around what could not be seen. But for now, there is nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to go. Just remain here, between tree and hill, between breath and sleep. Morning does not arrive suddenly in this land. It never has. There is no sharp line between night and day, only a slow exchange. Darkness loosens its hold, inch by inch, and light enters quietly, as if it does not wish to disturb anyone who is resting. You remain near the oak, your body still heavy, your breathing slow and even. Sleep may have brushed past you, or perhaps it lingered. Here, the difference does not matter. The Celts believed that waking was not the opposite of sleeping. It was simply another way of being present. And as the sky begins to pale, you notice how the land responds. Mist thins, not disappearing, but lifting just enough to reveal shape and depth. Birdsong does not burst forth. It begins cautiously, one note at a time, testing the air. Somewhere beyond the valley, smoke begins to rise again. The village is waking, not with urgency, not with noise, but with habit. Habit was sacred here. Routine was how balance was maintained. As you move gently toward the village, the earth beneath your feet feels firmer now. Dew clings to grass. Stone paths glisten faintly. Homes emerge from shadow, round low, their walls shaped by hand and patience. Doors open slowly. People step outside without speaking much. There is no need. Everyone knows what the morning requires. The Celts lived close to the land, but not in struggle against it. They rose with daylight. They rested when the land grew quiet. Time was not something to control. It was something to follow. You pass near a hearth where embers still glow faintly. A woman stirs them carefully, adding just enough fuel to bring warmth back into the space. No sudden flame, no waste. Fire, like everything else, is treated as a living presence. Children move slowly, still carrying sleep within them. They are guided gently, never rushed. The elders watch quietly. Their role is not to command, it is to remember. As you stand among them, you are not noticed as unfamiliar. The Celtic world does not ask where you came from. It asks only how you are standing within it, and you are standing calmly. Beyond the village, fields stretch outward, not vast, not imposed upon the land. They curve gently, following the natural rise and fall of the earth. The Celts believed straight lines belonged to things made in haste. Curves belonged to life. Work begins slowly. Hands move with familiarity. Tools are simple, but well cared for. There is no sense of pressure, only rhythm. And as you watch, you begin to notice how often people pause to listen, to observe the sky, to feel the air. These pauses are not breaks, they are part of the work. The Celts believed that to live without listening was to invite imbalance, so even in activity, stillness is preserved. You find yourself near a well, stone-lined and ancient. Water lies dark within it, perfectly still. This is not merely a source of drinking. This is a place of respect. People approach quietly. They lower vessels gently. They do not speak loudly nearby. The well listens. Water, to the Celts, was a bridge between places, between moments, between what is seen and what remains unseen. And as you look into the surface, your reflection appears, softened by shadow. You do not feel drawn in. You feel grounded. Throughout the day, life unfolds in this careful way. Meals are simple. Movements are unhurried. No one seems anxious about tomorrow. Tomorrow will arrive on its own as daylight slowly begins to slope downward again. You realize something important. The Celts did not divide life into sacred and ordinary. Everything belonged. Every action was performed within a world that listened. Evening approaches as gently as morning did. Light softens. Shadows lengthen. Work slows naturally. Without instruction, people begin to return inward, toward homes, toward hearths, toward one another. Firelight returns, flickering against curved walls. Stories are not told yet. First comes quiet. First comes food shared slowly. First comes rest. You feel your body responding to this rhythm. Shoulders loosen, breathing deepens. This world does not ask anything extra of you. It does not require belief. It offers belonging. Outside, the land prepares once more. For night, mist gathers again in familiar places. The oak waits. The hill remains. And somewhere nearby, unseen but present, the otherworld rests alongside this one, unchanged, patient. As you settle into this evening calm, you understand now how the Celts lived between worlds, not divided, but balanced. In the next part of this journey, you will begin to feel how this balance extended into memory itself, into ancestors, into those who were gone, but never far. For now, let the day close gently around you. Night returns the way it always does here, not as an ending, but as a deepening. The last traces of daylight soften and fade, and the land exhales once more. You feel it in the air first, cooler now, denser, as if night has weight, but not heaviness. You remain close to the village, near enough to see firelight, far enough to feel the quiet stretch of land around you. This is the hour the Celts understood best. The space between, as fires are tended and doors are eased shut, the world does not disappear. It listens. Inside the homes, voices lower. Outside, the land grows more aware, and you begin to sense something that daylight kept softened. Memory. To the Celts, memory was not trapped in the past. It moved. It wandered. It settled into places. The land remembered those who had walked it before, not as ghosts, but as presence. You notice a stone near the edge of the village, half sunken into the earth. It is smooth from touch, its surface worn by generations of hands. resting there briefly, then moving on. This is not a marker of death. It is a marker of connection. The Celts believed ancestors did not leave the world entirely. They stepped slightly aside, close enough to be felt, far enough not to intrude. At night, that closeness became clearer, not frightening, familiar. You sit near the stone, your body naturally settling into stillness. Breathing slows, thoughts thin. This is not sleep yet. This is something gentler. Somewhere within the village, an elder begins to speak. The voice is low, measured. No one interrupts. No one asks questions. The words are not meant to explain anything. They are meant to keep memory aligned. Stories of those who came before are spoken without urgency. A grandmother who tended this land, a hunter who learned patience, a child who grew old. There is no separation between the living and the remembered. All belong to the same rhythm. As you listen from the quiet edge, you realize something subtle. The stories are not dramatic. They are calm, repetitive, almost circular. And that is intentional. The Celts believed repetition settled the mind. It reminded the body that life continues in patterns. Outside the circle of firelight, the land remains attentive. The oak stands as it always has. The hill rests. Mist drifts gently, never fully still, never hurried. This is the time when boundaries soften further. Not enough to cross, enough to feel. The Celts believed that on certain nights, especially when seasons shifted, ancestors drew closer, not to warn, not to guide, simply to remain near. You do not see anyone arrive. You feel it instead. A warmth that does not come from fire. A sense of company without conversation. It does not demand acknowledgement. It does not need permission. It is part of the night. Your body responds by relaxing further. Muscles release. Breath deepens. If sleep comes now, it will come naturally. If it does not, that is also fine. There is no pressure here. The Celts did not fear forgetting. They feared disconnection. So they spoke names quietly. They touched familiar stones. They returned to the same places. Memory lived in habit. As the elder's voice fades, silence settles again. Not empty, held. People remain by the fire, staring into embers, allowing thoughts to drift. Some have already closed their eyes. Others remain awake, content. You find yourself leaning back slightly, supported by the earth. The ground here is firm, steady. It has held countless nights like this one. It knows how. Above, stars hold their positions, not glittering, not demanding attention, simply present. The Celts saw stars, not as distant objects, but as fixed reminders. That order existed beyond effort. Time slows further. Minutes stretch. Moments dissolve. You may no longer know how long you have been here. That is not important. Night does not measure itself. Somewhere nearby, an animal moves quietly through grass. Not startled, not hunting, simply passing. The land accepts it. So do you. As this calm deepens, you begin to understand why ancestors remained close in Celtic belief. Not because they were unfinished. But because the world itself never pushed them away, in the next part of this journey, you will begin to feel how seasons shaped everything, how time moved not forward, but in cycles, and how the Celts rested inside those cycles without resistance. For now, remain here, between memory and rest, between firelight and darkness. Time does not move forward here. It turns, slowly, patiently, without friction. As night loosens its hold once more, you begin to sense the rhythm the Celts trusted more than anything else. The rhythm of seasons. Morning does not announce itself. Light simply returns, as if it had never truly left. The sky pales gradually, clouds thinning into soft layers of gray and blue. You are still close to the village, still wrapped in calm, still moving without urgency. This land does not expect speed. It expects awareness. The Celts did not count years the way others would. They counted cycles, growth, rest, return. Life here was not a line, it was a circle, and as you remain present, you begin to feel that circular movement within your own body. Breath in, breath out, no beginning, no end. The people of this land rose with the season, not the clock. In the softer months, they moved gently. In colder times, they conserved energy. Nothing was forced. Everything was adjusted. As you walk slowly through the village again, you notice subtle changes. Tools resting longer, movements quieter, voices lower. The season is shifting, not dramatically, quietly. The Celts believed certain days stood at the edges of seasons, not belonging fully to what had passed or what was coming. These days were not feared, they were respected. One such day arrives now. You can feel it in the air, a pause between rhythms. Fields rest, work slows, people gather earlier than usual. This is not celebration, it is acknowledgement. The Celts named these moments carefully, not to control them, but to remember them. One season closes its eyes, another breathes in, and the world holds still, just long enough for balance to be maintained. You sit near the edge of a field, grass cool beneath your hands. The land feels different now, not hostile, reserved, as if drawing inward. Animals move closer to shelter. Birdsong shortens. Wind changes direction slightly. These are not signs to react. They are signals to listen. The Celts did not fight the coming of darkness. They prepared for it. Rest was not weakness. Rest was alignment. As evening approaches again, fires are lit earlier. Homes feel warmer. Inside, people settle close together. Stories will be told tonight, but not long ones. This is not the season for wandering tales. It is the season for familiarity. You feel your body responding, a natural desire to slow further, limbs heavier, thoughts fewer. This is how the seasons speak, not through words, but sensation. Outside, the land gathers itself. Mist returns more quickly now. It clings to hollows, rests along tree lines, softens the distance between things. The Celts believed that during seasonal thresholds, the otherworld drew closer, not to disrupt, to overlap. just enough to remind the living that change was shared across layers. You do not see anything unusual. You feel something steady, a sense that everything is exactly where it should be. As night deepens, the stars appear once more. They feel sharper now, clearer, as if colder air has polished them. The Celts read seasons in the sky, not to predict, but to remain oriented. You lie back again on the ground, letting the earth support you. It feels firm, reliable, the same earth that has carried countless cycles without complaint. Your breathing slows further. Each breath feels complete, unhurried. Nothing is being waited on. This is how the Celts slept, not anxious about tomorrow, not attached to yesterday, resting inside a rhythm larger than themselves. The land does not judge sleep, it welcomes it. And as you allow yourself to drift deeper into stillness, you understand why seasons mattered so much. They reminded people when to act and when to let go. In the next part of this journey, you will move closer to the spiritual guides of this world, those who watched over balance, who listened longer than others. The Druids, for now, remain here, inside the circle, inside the rhythm. Let the season hold you. Some people in this world listened longer than others. They did not rush to speak. They did not hurry to act. They waited, and in waiting, they learned. These were the ones later remembered as druids, not rulers, not prophets, listeners. As morning returns once more, you feel the land shifting gently around you, not changing direction, refining itself. The air is cooler now, clearer. Sounds travel slightly farther. This is a good morning for observation. The Druids did not rise above the people. They stood among them, often unnoticed. Their role was not to command, it was to align, to notice when balance drifted, to remember when others forgot. As you move through the land, you sense this attentiveness everywhere. In the way fires are lit, in how water is drawn, in the careful pacing of the day. Someone is always listening, not in suspicion, in care. The Celts believed knowledge did not belong to individuals. It moved through people. Those who listened well became temporary holders of it. The Druids were such holders. You find yourself near a grove now, not marked by walls, not announced by signs, just a gathering of trees, standing closer together than others around them. The ground here feels different, softer, quieter. This is where the Druids gathered, not to perform, but to attend. The grove does not amplify voices. It absorbs them. As you step into the shade, your breathing slows further. Light filters through leaves in scattered patterns. Time seems to loosen its grip. The Druids believed true understanding arrived when the mind grew still enough to receive it. So they waited, they stood, they listened. Days passed without urgency. They observed stars, not for control, but for relationship. They noticed how certain trees responded to season shifts. They remembered patterns, spanning generations. Nothing here was written down. Knowledge was carried in memory, in rhythm, in repetition, spoken softly, repeated often, never rushed. You sense that this grove has heard thousands of quiet moments, questions unasked, answers unspoken, all held gently by the trees. The Druids did not separate spiritual from ordinary. Water was sacred because it sustained. Fire was sacred because it transformed. Speech was sacred because it shaped memory. Silence was sacred because it allowed all things to exist without interruption. As you remain here, the urge to think lessens, not because you are trying, because the space encourages it. You sit near the base of a tree, its roots rising slightly from the earth. The bark is rough beneath your hand, solid, alive. The Druids believed trees held time differently. Their roots carried memory downward. Their branches carried awareness upward. They stood between worlds naturally. No effort required. Wind moves gently through the grove. Leaves shift quietly. The sound is even, steady, reassuring. This is not a place for asking. It is a place for resting, inside understanding. As the day progresses, you notice how little changes. Light shifts, shadows move, but nothing demands attention. The Druids did not fill time. They allowed it. People pass nearby occasionally, moving respectfully. No one lingers unnecessarily. The grove does not belong to any one person. It belongs to listening itself. Your body grows heavier again, not tired, settled, supported by the quiet agreement between land and presence. The Celts believed Druids could feel when the otherworld drew closer, not through visions, through atmosphere. The air would thicken slightly, sound would soften, attention would deepen. You feel that now, not as something approaching, as something aligning. The grove does not change, you do. Breathing slows further, thoughts thin. This is not sleep, it is deeper. As evening approaches once more, the grove darkens gently. Light recedes between leaves. Firelight glows faintly in the distance. The world prepares to rest again. The Druids do not mark this moment loudly. They notice it. They adjust. They remain still. As you prepare to leave the grove, you feel no sense of departure. The space remains within you. The quiet stays. In the next part of this journey, you will begin to feel how the Celts understood the otherworld, not as escape, but as closeness. For now, remain here, between tree and breath, between thought and rest. As night settles once more, the world feels thinner again, not weaker, not uncertain, just closer. You sense it as you move slowly away from the grove, leaving the trees behind, without truly leaving them. In Celtic mythology, places never vanished. When you walked away, they followed quietly. The air cools as darkness deepens, and mist begins its familiar return. It gathers low to the ground, rolling gently across fields and paths, softening edges, blurring distance. This is when the Celts believed the otherworld leaned closer, not to pull anyone away, to walk beside them. You move carefully now, not because you are afraid, but because the night feels attentive. Every sound seems slightly clearer, every movement more intentional. This is not danger. This is awareness. In Celtic mythology, the otherworld was not a separate realm, far beyond reach. It existed alongside this one, woven through it, a step too slow, a pause too long, a moment of stillness, and you could feel it. You find yourself near a familiar hill again, smooth, rounded, unmarked. During the day, it looked like nothing more than a gentle rise in the land. At night, it feels different, complete, contained, alive. The Celts called such places Shia, homes of the Tuatha Dé Danann, entrances to the otherworld, not doors to be forced open, thresholds to be respected. You do not approach the hill directly. No one ever did. You remain nearby, letting your presence settle. The land does not respond immediately. It never rushes. As you breathe slowly, the mist thickens slightly around you. Not enough to obscure, enough to quiet. The world narrows, to breath, to ground, to listening. In Celtic stories, those who encountered the otherworld rarely sought it. They simply noticed. When the world shifted, time slowed, sound softened, light dulled into a gentle glow. You feel that shift now, not as a change in scenery, but as a change in sensation. Your body grows heavier, your thoughts loosen. The night does not demand attention, it invites surrender. Somewhere nearby, soft music seems to drift, not a melody you can follow, not something you could hum, more like the idea of sound. The Celts believed the otherworld often announced itself this way, through sensation rather than sight. You remain still. Stillness is always the correct response. In Celtic mythology, the otherworld was a place of rest, of timelessness, of endless green fields and soft light. It was not a place of judgment. It was a place of continuation. You imagine it now, not vividly, not sharply, just enough. A land where fatigue dissolves, where worries cannot survive, where nothing ages unless it wishes to. The hill beside you feels closer, not physically, perceptually, as if distance itself has folded inward. You do not cross. You are not meant to. Tonight is not about leaving. It is about proximity. The Tuatha Dé Danann are said to move quietly through this space, not appearing as figures, as presences, as calm. They do not observe you. They do not judge you. They simply remain. This knowledge settles over you like a second blanket, warm, weightless, safe. Your breathing slows further, each breath longer than the last. There is nothing to prepare for, nothing to remember, nothing to do. The Celts believed that sleep was the closest state to the otherworld, not because it transported you there, but because it softened the boundaries. You feel that softness now. The ground beneath you feels distant, yet supportive. Your body feels present, yet light. Thoughts drift without forming patterns. Mist curls gently around the hill, never touching it, never leaving it. The night holds its shape. In the distance, a faint glow suggests firelight. The village sleeps. Dreams unfold quietly behind closed doors. Here, outside those walls, myth breathes, not loudly, not dramatically, naturally. You sense time slowing again. Moments stretch, seconds dissolve. There is no need to measure anything. The otherworld does not call to you. It reassures you that rest is allowed, that letting go is safe, that the world will continue without your effort. Your eyelids grow heavier now, not forced, earned, as if the night itself has decided you have listened long enough. The hill remains, the mist remains, the presence remains. Nothing fades abruptly. Everything softens. In the next part of this journey, you will drift deeper into the mythic rhythms of Celtic time, where heroes sleep, where journeys pause, and where even stories themselves learn how to rest. For now, stay here, between worlds, between breaths, between waking and sleep. The night deepens without effort. It does not press down. It settles around you. You remain near the hill, near the soft presence of the otherworld, and something subtle begins to change. Not in the land, in you. In Celtic mythology, time behaves differently. When night grows old, it stretches, it loosens. Moments no longer line up neatly. They overlap, folding gently into one another. This is when stories slow enough to become dreams. You feel the ground beneath you again, cool and steady. It does not pull you down. It supports you exactly where you are. The Celts believed the earth was never passive. It listened back. As your breathing grows deeper, your awareness widens briefly, then softens. You begin to sense movement that is not physical, the movement of myth itself. In Celtic mythology, heroes did not always rush forward. Often they waited, they rested, they slept for long stretches before their journeys continued. Rest was not interruption, it was preparation. Somewhere beyond the hill, beyond mist and shadow, lie lands spoken of quietly, plains of gentle light, rivers that do not hurry, fields that remain forever green. The Celts called this place Tuatha Dé Danann, the land of Everyoung. It was not a land of excitement, it was a land of ease. No hunger, no urgency, no exhaustion. Those who reached it did not feel the need to prove anything. You are not traveling there tonight. You are only drifting close enough to feel its calm, and that is enough. In Celtic stories, those who brushed near Tuatha Dé Danann often returned changed, not louder, not stronger, quieter, as if something heavy had been set down. You may feel that now. A subtle release, a loosening in the chest, a softening behind the eyes. This is how myth works when it is not rushed. The night air feels smoother now. Sounds travel less. Even the wind seems careful not to disturb the stillness. The hill remains beside you, unchanged, but somehow closer. You feel no urge to stand, no urge to move. The Celts believed stillness allowed myth to pass through without resistance. Somewhere, faint laughter drifts, not loud, not clear, more like the memory of laughter. The Tuatha Dé Danann were said to move through the night, this way, not as figures, as feelings. They did not frighten travelers. They unsettled certainty, and certainty has already softened within you. Your thoughts slow again. They arrive less frequently now, and when they do, they dissolve quickly. The story no longer needs your attention. It carries itself. In Celtic mythology, Sleep was considered a sacred state, not because it revealed visions, but because it returned balance. The body rested, the mind loosened, the soul wandered gently, never far. You may notice your eyelids growing heavier, not closing fully, hovering. This is the space the Celts valued, between awareness and release. The ground beneath you feels warmer now, as if the land itself has adjusted to your presence. Nothing presses, nothing demands. The hill breathes slowly. You feel it more than hear it. A steady rhythm that mirrors your own. Breath in, breath out. Time slips again. You are no longer certain how long you have been here. That uncertainty feels safe, desired. The Celts believed that when time loosened its hold, the otherworld was nearest. Not to take, to reassure. You feel reassured now, without words, without reason. A simple understanding that you are held inside something older than worry. Mist thickens slightly, then stills. Stars remain above, steady and patient. They do not flicker, they observe. Somewhere in the distance, a fire settles into embers. The village sleeps deeply now. Dreams unfold without urgency. You are not alone in rest. Your breathing slows again. Longer pauses between breaths, comfortable pauses, the kind that do not need to be filled. In Celtic stories, heroes often slept for days or years before returning. Time passed gently around them. Nothing was lost. You are not sleeping for years, only for now, only enough. The mythic world does not insist you stay awake. It invites you to let go. The hill beside you feels distant now, not gone, integrated, part of the background of your awareness. Your body feels light and heavy at the same time, supported, rested. As this part of the journey fades, there is no ending, only continuation. In the next part, you will drift deeper into the quiet stories the Celts told themselves to ease into sleep, stories that did not excite, stories that soothed, stories that were meant to be forgotten as soon as sleep arrived. For now, let the night finish what it has begun. The night no longer feels wide. It feels close, not enclosing, not heavy, just near. You are still resting beside the hill, still within the soft boundary, where the human world and the other world touch without meeting. Nothing has changed suddenly. Everything has eased. In Celtic mythology, this hour of night was considered the deepest, not because it was darkest, but because it was quietest. This was the hour when stories stopped moving forward and began to circle inward. Your breathing has found its own rhythm now. Slow, even, unforced, each breath arrives exactly when it should. There is no waiting, there is no rushing. The Celts believed that during this hour, the world rested as a whole, not just people. The land itself paused. Water slowed its movement through stone. Wind lost its direction. Fire held its warmth without flicker. You feel that pause now, as if the night has gently placed its hand over everything. Thoughts appear less frequently. When they do, they pass without attachment. You do not follow them. You let them drift. This is how Celtic sleeping stories worked. They were not meant to be remembered. They were meant to carry you to the edge of forgetting, somewhere beyond awareness. Old mythic journeys come to rest. Heroes lower their heads. Travelers stop walking. Songs trail off mid-note. Nothing is unfinished. Everything simply rests. In Celtic mythology, even gods knew when to withdraw. The Tuatha Dé Danann did not rule constantly. They faded when their presence was no longer needed. They allowed silence to take their place. You sense that withdrawal now, not as absence, as relief. The hill beside you feels almost indistinct, not because it is gone, but because your awareness no longer needs to focus on it. The night has taken over. Your body sinks slightly deeper into the ground beneath you. Supported, held, the earth does not move. It adapts. This is where Celtic myth blends into sleep completely. Not through instruction, through permission. The Celts believed that sleep allowed the soul to wander gently without leaving the body, not traveling far, not searching, just drifting within familiar space. You feel that drift now, light, unattached. There is no sense of direction, only movement. Sounds become distant. Even your own breathing feels less pronounced. The night absorbs it kindly. Stars remain above, but they no longer feel separate. They feel part of the same stillness that holds you. The village nearby sleeps fully now. No movement, no voices, only the faint presence of lives resting together. You are part of that rest. In Celtic myth, sleep was never solitary. Even when alone, one rested among land, ancestors, and unseen presences. You feel accompanied now, not by someone, by something shared. Time loosens further. Minutes stretch into softness. Seconds dissolve entirely. There is no need to mark anything. If your eyes are still open, they grow heavy now. If they are already closed, the world behind them grows darker, calmer, quieter. The story no longer introduces anything new. It does not need to. It begins to repeat itself gently. Breath, ground, night, breath, ground, night. This repetition is intentional. The Celts believed repetition lulled the mind into surrender. Your body responds naturally. Muscles release, jaw softens, hands rest without tension. The hill, the mist, the stars, they are no longer distinct. They blend into one continuous presence. This is the place where Celtic mythology was never meant to follow you further, not because it ends, but because sleep begins. The otherworld does not open, it does not call, it simply remains. And that remaining is enough. You feel no urgency to hold on. Nothing will be lost. Nothing will move on without you. The world knows how to continue while you rest. Your breathing deepens again. Long pauses between breaths, comfortable pauses. Thoughts slow to a near stop. Awareness softens. Edges dissolve. This is where stories fade into feeling, where mythology becomes atmosphere, where listening turns into rest. If sleep has not fully arrived yet, it is very close now, close enough that you no longer need to wait. In the next part of this journey, there will be no new movement, only deeper stillness. only the final easing into uninterrupted rest. For now, let the night hold you, let the land remember you, let sleep arrive. Without effort, the night has settled into its deepest shape now. Not darker, not heavier, just quieter. You are no longer aware of when you last shifted your weight, or how long you have been resting here beside the hill. Time has loosened completely. This is how the Celts understood the deepest hours of night, as a state where the world stopped keeping count. Breath moves in you slowly, in and out, with long, comfortable spaces in between. Those spaces feel important now. They feel like places you could rest inside. In Celtic mythology, there was a belief that during the deepest sleep, the soul did not travel far. It stayed close to the body, close to the land, close to what was familiar. Sleep was not escape. It was return. You feel that return now. A gentle settling inward, nothing pulling you away, everything drawing you closer to yourself. The hill beside you is no longer something you sense directly. It has become part of the background of the night, like a memory you trust without needing to recall clearly. The otherworld feels the same, not distant, not near, simply present. The Tuatha Dé Danann were said to rest during these hours, not hidden, not vanished, resting, allowing the world of humans to breathe without interference. They understood that silence was necessary. You are wrapped in that silence now. It does not feel empty. It feels complete. The land beneath you feels warm, as if it has adjusted fully to your presence, as if it recognizes you and no longer needs to pay attention. This recognition is deeply calming. Thoughts no longer arrive in full sentences. They appear as fragments, then dissolve before forming meaning. This is not confusion. This is release. The Celts believed that the deepest sleep restored balance, not only to the body, but to the unseen parts of a person, the parts that carry tension without language, the parts that grow tired without explanation. You feel those parts softening now, letting go. There is no story unfolding anymore, no movement, no direction, only a steady, gentle presence. If you listen carefully, you may notice that even the night seems to be breathing, not audibly, rhythmically. The land inhales and exhales, slowly, patiently. Your own breathing mirrors this rhythm. Without effort, you are no longer controlling it. It happens on its own. In Celtic stories, this was the hour when dreams arrived quietly. Not vivid visions, not messages, simple impressions, soft images that drifted through the mind without needing interpretation. If images appear for you now, they do not linger. They pass gently, like mist crossing a field. Nothing asks you to follow. The village nearby is completely still. No movement, no sound. Every life within it is resting at the same depth. You are resting with them. Ancestors, too, were believed to rest during these hours, not watching, not guiding, resting, sharing the same stillness. This shared rest is what made sleep sacred in Celtic mythology. Not isolation, connection. Your body feels heavier now, yet more distant. as if it belongs to the earth, while your awareness floats just above it. This sensation is familiar to sleep, comfortable. The ground supports you fully. There is no need to adjust, no need to search for comfort. You have already found it. The night does not change. It holds. It maintains. It remains. Breath in, a long pause. Breath out, an even longer pause. These pauses stretch gently. They feel spacious, inviting. If your eyes are still open, they close naturally now. If they have been closed, the darkness behind them deepens into something softer, not black, muted, restful. Celtic sleeping stories were never meant to end sharply. They faded, they thinned, they allowed sleep to take over without resistance. You are at that place now, where listening is no longer required, where awareness dissolves naturally. The hill, the mist, the otherworld, they are no longer separate ideas. They blend into one continuous sense of calm. There is nothing left to understand, nothing left to anticipate, nothing left to hold. Sleep moves closer now, not rushing, not insisting, simply arriving. When it is welcome, your breathing grows deeper, slower, more distant. The Celts believed that, when sleep fully arrived, the soul rested like a stone at the bottom of a clear river, held undisturbed, safe. You feel that safety now. It does not need explanation. It does not need reassurance. It is simply there. The story does not continue. It does not need to. It has done what it was meant to do. If there is any remaining tension in you, it loosens now. If there is any remaining thought, it drifts away. Only rest remains, only quiet, only the gentle certainty that nothing is required of you. In the final part of this journey, there will be no new words, only the soft completion of rest itself. For now, let sleep take you fully. Let the night hold you without effort. Let everything fade gently. Everything has slowed now, not gradually, but completely. You are no longer waiting for sleep. You are already resting inside it. The night has finished arranging itself around you, and nothing more needs to happen. In Celtic mythology, there was a belief that when rest reached this depth, the world itself stopped asking questions. No searching, no wondering, only being. Your breathing continues on its own, in and out, with long spaces in between, where nothing is required. Those spaces feel wide now, comfortably wide. The land no longer feels separate from you. There is no sense of body resting on the earth, only a feeling of being held within it. The Celts believed this was the truest form of rest, not collapse, belonging. The hill beside you is no longer an idea. It has softened into presence. So has the otherworld. So has the story itself. Nothing is vivid anymore. And that is exactly how it should be. Celtic sleeping stories were designed to dissolve gently before the mind could grasp them. If thoughts appear now, they are faint, unfinished. They drift without direction and fade without effort. You do not need to follow them. They already know where to go. Your body feels warm, heavy, settled. Every place that once held tension has released it. Shoulders loose, jaw relaxed, hands resting naturally. The night holds everything evenly. There are no sharp sounds, no sudden shifts. Even silence feels smooth. In Celtic mythology, this state was sometimes described as resting between breaths. Not the inhale, not the exhale, the pause. That pause was considered sacred. You are resting inside that pause now. It does not end quickly. It stretches gently, safely. There is no sense of distance anymore. No near, no far. Everything exists at the same depth. The village, the land, the ancestors, the Tuatha Dé Danann, the Otherworld. They are not separate layers now. They have folded into one calm presence. Nothing watches, nothing waits, nothing expects. Your awareness floats lightly, unattached to thought. It is not alert. It is not gone. It is resting. The Celts believed that in this depth of sleep, the soul rested like mist over a field at dawn, not moving, not fixed, simply present. If images come now, they are dim and gentle. A soft green field, a distant hill, a quiet glow. They do not stay. They pass through without leaving a trace. Breathing continues, slow, steady, with longer pauses than before. Those pauses feel natural. They feel right. You are not listening anymore. The story has already done its work. Words no longer matter. Sound no longer matters. Only the rhythm remains. The land beneath you feels endlessly patient. It has carried countless nights like this one. It knows how to hold rest without effort. The night does not deepen further. It has reached its calmest shape. It will remain here as long as you need. There is no future moment to prepare for, no next image to imagine, no next sentence to hear. If sleep has not fully taken you yet, it is arriving now, quietly, without announcement. Your breathing slows again. In, a long pause. Out, an even longer pause. These pauses stretch softly. Nothing interrupts them. The Celts believed that when sleep arrived this way, it healed without instruction, balanced without effort, returned the body and mind to their natural state. You feel that balance now. It does not ask for attention. It simply exists. The story has faded completely. Only rest remains. Only stillness. Only the gentle certainty that you are safe. There is nothing left to do, nothing left to release, nothing left to think. Sleep holds you fully now, not pulling, not pushing, simply holding. If awareness returns briefly, it will drift again. If dreams appear, they will be soft. If nothing appears at all, that is perfect too. The night remains, the land remains, you rest, and there is no need to go any further. Nothing more is forming now. Nothing more needs to. The night has reached its quietest state, and you are resting inside it without effort. There is no longer a sense of moving forward, and no need to look back. Everything has settled exactly where it belongs. In Celtic mythology, this was the state beyond story, beyond teaching, beyond memory, a place where even myth learned how to rest. Your breathing continues slowly, in and out, with wide, comfortable spaces in between. Those spaces no longer feel like pauses. They feel like home. The land is no longer something you notice. It has become the foundation beneath awareness itself. The Celts believed that true rest happened when the earth no longer needed to introduce itself, when it simply held. You are being held now, not by hands, by patience. There are no clear thoughts forming. If one appears, it dissolves before it can finish. Nothing pulls you back into wakefulness. Nothing asks you to stay aware. The hill, the mist, the otherworld, they are no longer ideas. They have softened into a single, quiet presence. Not separate, not distant, just there in Celtic belief. The otherworld was never meant to interrupt rest. It existed so that rest felt safe, so that nothing unknown waited beyond sleep. That safety surrounds you now, without explanation, without effort. Your body remains completely supported. There is no pressure to move, no reason to adjust. Comfort has already been found. The night does not change anymore. It holds the same shape, a steady calm, a gentle stillness. If dreams begin to form, they do so quietly. No sharp images, no sudden movement, only soft impressions that pass without leaving weight behind. The Celts believed that the deepest sleep returned a person to their most natural state, not alert, not unconscious, simply at rest. You are resting now in that natural state. Nothing needs to be fixed. Nothing needs to be remembered. Nothing needs to be understood. Breathing continues, slow, even unforced. There is no listener anymore, no storyteller, no story, only rest remaining. The land beneath you feels endless, not vast, endless in patience. It has carried countless nights like this one. It knows exactly how long to hold you. Time no longer stretches. It no longer moves. It rests with you. If awareness flickers briefly, it fades again without resistance. Sleep is already complete. The Celts believed that when rest reached this depth, the soul rested quietly within the body, like a stone resting in still water, undisturbed, unnoticed, safe. You are safe now, without needing reassurance, without needing thought. Nothing approaches, nothing leaves, nothing changes. The night remains, the land remains, and you rest. There are no more words to hear, no more images to form, no more movement to follow, only the quiet continuation of sleep. And that is enough. Rest, rest, rest. Now everything has slowed to the point where even slowing feels unnecessary. You are no longer following a story. The story has settled around you. The night is complete in its quiet shape, and nothing new needs to arrive. In the Celtic world, there was a gentle understanding that no journey truly ended. It simply rested until it was remembered again. And tonight, as you rest inside this calm, you are not at an ending. You are at a pause. And long before this quiet Celtic land, you traveled elsewhere. You may remember it faintly now, or not at all. A place shaped by light and shadow, where the sky itself felt alive. In the Greek world, myth moved like breath. Gods rose and fell, not with urgency, but with inevitability. Night there was filled with stars, and each star carried meaning. Stories unfolded slowly, layer by layer, until the mind no longer needed to hold onto names. Those stories were never meant to be remembered clearly. They were meant to soften you the same way they did tonight. And before this Celtic stillness, you may also recall a land of forests and rivers where silence carried weight. In the Slavic world, myth hid itself in the earth, not above, not beyond, but beneath roots, inside water, within the quiet presence of trees. That world did not explain itself. It waited, just as this one has waited for you. Greek myth taught the sky to breathe. Slavic myth taught the land to listen. And Celtic myth taught the night how to rest. None of them asked for belief. They only asked for presence. You do not need to remember which stories you have heard. You do not need to separate them. They were never meant to stand alone. They were always meant to be part of the same slow journey, one world flowing gently into another. As you rest now, those other journeys remain nearby, not calling, not insisting, simply available, waiting patiently, the way myths always have. When another night comes and you feel the pull of quiet storytelling again, you may drift back to them. You may wander once more through Greek starlight or Slavic forests or any other ancient place where time moves gently. There is no order you must follow. There is no correct path, only rest. And the Celts believed that stories lived inside the land itself, that even when no one spoke them, they remained soft, unchanged, patient. Tonight's story will remain that way too. It does not end because the words end. It rests until you need it again. Your breathing continues naturally, in and out, with long spaces in between, where nothing is required of you. Those spaces are familiar now. They are safe. The land no longer introduces itself. It no longer needs to. You are already resting within it. There is no narrator anymore, no voice guiding you, only the quiet understanding that sleep has arrived exactly as it should. If another thought appears, it will drift away again. If another image forms, it will fade gently. Nothing will disturb this calm. Myths do not disappear when sleep comes. They do what they have always done. They watch quietly. They wait. They remain. Greek gods return to their silence. Slavic spirits retreat into forest and water. Celtic hills close their doors gently. All worlds resting together, and you rest with them, not as a visitor, not as an observer, but as someone who belongs to the same ancient rhythm. There is no next instruction, no final message, no ending to listen for, only the continuation of sleep. The night holds you, the land remembers you, the stories remain. Rest, rest,